And he hears the story and goes, guilty. And they go, and other brothers go, your Highness, your Lordship, you don't understand something. He goes, Jews. Guilty. He goes, but you don't understand something. Take us as servants. We're better servants. He goes, Hebrews. Go home. Boy's mine. And they go, we have a father, and the father is old, and he's going to die. He goes, yeah, I heard. I got it. Go home. The boy's mine. And 9 Hebrews turn around. And 1 steps forward. And the verse begins. Vayigash elav Yudah. And Judah steps forward. Vayomar, he says, Be Adoni. Excuse me, my master. But the Sfas Emes, who quotes the Arizal, which is one for the Ashkenazim and the Sephardim in the room, says, that's not what he said. Vayigash elav Yehuda. Yehuda steps forward, Vayomar, and he says, Be inside me. Adoni is my master. Judah steps up and goes, whoa! That was awesome, Mr. King of Egypt. Like, I love that roar in your voice. We are quaking in our boots over here. I mean, that was phenomenal. Look at you up there just telling us to go run home, and we're going to go scurry home and cry to Daddy as you take our brother. I'm sorry. Maybe you didn't get the memo. Let me tell you who you're talking to. You see, behind the togas are bodies. And you think it ends there? It doesn't. Because inside us is not just flesh and blood. You see, inside us is not the king of Egypt. Inside us is the king of the universe. So if you think you're saying going home after taking our brother and we're crawling out of here, you must have not really realized who we are. So either you give him back or we have a go. Must have been in Brooklyn at least at one point. And at that moment, something shifted in Jewish history. You see, God created man in an amazing way. God created a world, the first thing he did was he created angels, and they're all kissing up, that's not fun. Then he created animals, but I was paying attention, that's not fun. So he did something so amazing that it is literally awesome. And it is so awesome that for the most part, humanity can't even grapple with it. He took an animal and raised it on its 2 feet. And in that animal, he could have had it operate like an animal, but he didn't. He blew into that animal a piece of himself. We are created with a chelet elokam, literally a piece of God inside us. What we are made of is a God. And so I speak to you all the time, they're like, I'm into it, I'm not into it, I'm religious, I'm not religious. I'm like, stop. You have more spirituality inside you than you could ever dream of. And somehow along the way, God got put to here. I don't know when this started. When we started taking God and putting him over the clouds. We pray here, we look here, and we think like he's sitting on a throne. He's going to like throw down some gold coins and some health and whatever it is. Because God's here. God's not there. God is here. He's in us. Shamayim isn't up. Shamayim is in. We say a capital hymn called Shamav Mimamakim. Mimamakim doesn't mean low, it means deep. Omek, libi. If your eyes are open, God is in. As a Jew, as a human being, you never have to become anything. There's no story you read, and I hope I can be like that one day. We never become. We reveal. It's already in. The only question of life is not ever being in. The only question of life is whether or not we can get closer and deeper to who we really are. A piece of the all-knowing, all-knowledgeable creator of humanity he rests within. Our only connection to everything around is through that inside us. And for the first time in history, somebody stood up and saw a challenge and responded with, you don't know who I am. No, you don't know who I am. You know what I have inside? You know how deep I can go? You know how resilient you know what I'm made with? And at that moment, something was born in the Jewish history called royalty. Judah is royalty Because Judah, you know your royalty when you walk around with the insignia of a king. When you wear a uniform with pride. And for the first time, somebody took the insignia of a king and he held it with pride, and God says, you will be a king. And it's that moment that gave birth to Nachshon. The story of Nachshon, he walks into the sea, and God goes, go forward. And all the fisher's like, oh, no, we can't jump, we don't have to swim. No, it's a little boardwalk. Like, what are we doing here in the first place? You know what I'm saying? Like, what kind of hotel do you build about boardwalk? And he goes, guys, keep on walking. And he goes, we can't get one guy. Come on, guys, let's go. And they're like, no, we're going to do how many times? He goes, one guy goes, come on. God said, go. Come on. We can't. One guy. Yehuda's son, Yehuda's grandson. And it's one guy called, in the story of Caleb, the Jews are about to walk into the promised land. And God goes, it is your land. And everyone's looking around, and they go in, they go, wow, God, you pulled some doozies in Canaan. And you try and, I can't see what you got up your sleeve for Canaan. God goes, oh, I'm sorry. You didn't hear? You guys are fighting. And they're like, no, we're Jews. We don't fight. We can negotiate. We can sue. I can heal. I can put the advertisements for it. We can negotiate all the deals. You're never going to see a bunch of guys come out of a bar and be like, yo, the yeshiva let out. Let's cross the street and get weird. Ever. Maybe because their moms will be mad at me or something, or they won't be doctors. And we're like, sorry, God, we don't really fight. And God's like, oh, no, you're going to fight. And everyone's like, no. And one guy, you know who? His grandson. Judah's grandson, Caleb, stands up, Caleb, and says, Allah na'alev nirashno. So let's go conquer it. Ki, you may have heard this before if you live in America. Yochel nuchal la. Because yes, we can. He took it from you. Caleb, I called the White House, no one called me back. And it is that mentality that breeds a King David. Now the story of King David. Remember how King David came to the scene? Remember that? He was a shepherd. How did he show up to become a man? Remember the story? Goliath was standing in the hills. Biggest man we've ever seen, probably like 6'3". You know what I'm talking about? That's like the extent of it. We're like, whoa. And he was cursing out God, and everyone's like, I'm too scared. David shows up. You know what he was there for? He wasn't even in the army. He was there to bring his brother's lunch. Does it get less masculine than that? He's like, hey guys, turkey tuna, what do you want? They're like, where's the mayo? He goes, oh, I put the mayo. He goes, you gotta have pickles. If you serve me tuna, you gotta have pickles. He's like, oh guys, I'm sorry. Like, David, please. And he's like, what's going on? They're like, hey, Goliath. And he goes, I'll fight. And they're like, oh, will you? Is that adorable? Oh, this isn't a heart contest. No. Remember the story? Literally look inside. They give him a uniform. Remember when you were a little kid, you played in elementary school basketball? There's one kid in 6th grade who was small was a dress. You know what I'm talking about? You couldn't block that kid, right? You weren't allowed to touch him. His mom's like, don't touch my son. Remember that kid? That was David. They gave him the smallest uniform in the entire Jewish army, and it was too big on him. Can you imagine what Goliath was thinking? Goliath's like, really? You sent me the actuary to fight me? You think do my taxes afterwards? This is what you got. What does David say? What does David say? You guys are rolling over? He's cursing God. He is messing with our Father. And you're crying in the corner? You don't think he's going to help and save us? Step up. You know who we are? And being a Jew, he figured out how to create a slingshot, which he then turned into a gun and patented, sold his millions of dollars. He went on Shark Tank, he got a great investment, and now he's living in Israel, learning the Torah. And from that moment until now, in every generation, and I think you have one here as the patriarch of the shul, in every generation there are Jews that stand up and stare at challenge and go, you don't know who we are. We are 2 generations from the Holocaust. My grandmother was in the Holocaust. It's not like a story I heard from somebody. 2 generations. We are 13 hours away from the Western Wall. How is that possible? Because a bunch of guys showed up in the country and the whole world said, go home. And they said, we want to come. And they go, if you don't go home, we're going to kill you. And a couple of guys drew a line and said, be Adoni. You don't know who we are. David Ben-Gurion, someone who doesn't believe in miracles, isn't a realist. You don't know our story. We're not leaving ever again. We'll figure it out. We'll fight Goliath if we have to. We come to this country, and in this country, we didn't have anything, and people stood up in communities and said, we're building. And they go, what are you building? We're building. What do you have to build? You don't know who we are. We'll figure it out. We're not stepping down to the challenge anymore. Because we don't fall to challenge. We engage challenge. We walk into the sea. We walk into the promised land. And if we go down, we'd rather go down fighting Goliath at the hilltop than in the corner by ourselves. That's who we are. We're built to have awesome marriages, not okay marriages. To be awesome parents. To be awesome community members. Not to engage in the pettiness. We are built. It's not just Jews, it's humans. We are built to live awesome. But you know what happens? We stumble. And we fall. You know why? That's what humans do. Humans fall a lot. One of the things that I do is I'm a partner in a venture capital company. We see failure all day long. In fact, when I sit with a guy who has a startup company and I say, have you ever failed? He goes, no. I say, I'm not interested. Because if you don't fail, you know what that shows me? You don't try. And we fail. Sin is not, we have lost the word chait. It's not, sin is the wrong word. Sin makes us feel like we're evil. Chait is miss. In Hebrew, lahachti means I missed the shot. Chait is I missed. I said something to her and she got offended. I really didn't expect her to be this offended. I wanted to work out and I'm sorry. I put my kid in this school, and I didn't realize these are the friends he was going to hang. I put my kid in this school. I was trying to be hard, trying to be soft. I acted like this. I missed. I missed. And we fail. You know what happens when we fail? We cake all of the insecurities around us. We become failures. It's not that we missed on the path. The granny says, that's who I am. I'm not really that connected anyways. I knew this wasn't really for me. I'm this way, not that way. And we start to denominate ourselves and put ourselves into buckets and labels. And everyone fits into a nice little bucket and we look over and everything fits itself out and we put around ourselves all these insecurities. I'm not really that. It's not really gonna be. Calm down. The kids when they're little, right? 3-year-olds are changing the world. Calm down, settle down, sit down, relax, sit down, calm down, calm down, calm down. All the kids are like, I wanna stay up, I wanna go up, I wanna be up. We're like, can you calm down a little bit? Calm down, calm down, calm down. And we buy it. And around us is this cloud. And we don't know who we are. We've lost the drop of that by you. Gosh, that lion that looks at life and says, I'm going to live physically and spiritually. I'm going to climb to the heavens and shake it if I want to. There's nothing that I touch that I'm not going to go all in on. And then Yom Kippur comes. Now watch what happens. Yom Kippur comes and God says, I'm going to give you the secret to find yourself. Here it is. There's a great rabbi named Rabbi Nachman from Breslov. Rabbi Nachman from Breslov says that if you want to know how to find yourself, you've got to have one word. One word. Mercy. The line is called Merachim al Habrios. Whoever has mercy on the world, Merachim al Min Hashamayim. God has mercy on him. Mercy. But here's what he says. Do you want to know who the first person you need to have mercy on is? Who's number one on the mercy list? Yourself. You want God to forgive you? You got to start first. It's called Nida Keneged Mida. Measure for measure. You have a godliness inside you. And you're holding it down because you don't forgive yourself. You're messed up. And they're reminding you about it for the rest of your life. But you know what? You didn't mean to really hurt them. You were insensitive. You were insecure. You stumbled. You failed. And we come into the Yom Kippur and we feel more comfortable being worthless. You know what I'm talking about? You come in and you hear like, you're not enough, and you're not enough, and you're not enough. And we feel comfortable with that. That's what it makes sense to us. We're not enough. Let's fake it. And then maybe for a few minutes in God's eyes will be enough. And we go back to being ourselves. And God goes, you're missing it completely. You're not merciful on yourself. You're holding on to your mistakes 20 years ago. You're holding on to the what-ifs when you were first starting out your life. You're holding on to fights in your head that happened when you were a kid. You can't let go to last week. You can't. You're holding on to everything. You gotta let it go. You gotta be merciful to yourself. But why are we merciful to ourselves for? And I believe it comes down to one thing. So I've got 5 kids, which is why I'm here now. I'll be here all week, because this is a week-long conference, as per what I told my wife. So thank you very much. You know when you have, you know everyone's got, no matter how many kids you have, there's always one that requires an army to take care of it. You know what I'm talking about? Where you're like, this is easy. Then like God gives you one, he's like, yeah, there you go, good luck. And you're like, wow, thank God I didn't have him first. You know what I'm talking about? So I have one of those. I love him. He needs an army. So 2 weeks ago, we were outside the house, and he was on his scooter, up and down the block, and he's going real quick, up and down the block, and he's 7 years old, so this reckless abandon at 7. And he's going up and down, and then he finds that there's a little bit of, when you go to the driveway, there's like you get a little more traction on it, so he sees my neighbor's driveway, and there's like all these things for him to just hurt himself with, and he loves it, because he can get like this much more speed. And he comes back and he backs off into my neighbor's driveway. And my neighbor's driveway had like a lot of parts of the driveway were not paved well. It was a little uneven. And I'm watching this happen. And it's so hard because the guy, I'm like, yes. As a father, I'm like, no. It's so hard to live in both. Being a responsible guy is such a hard dichotomy. You know what I'm talking about? So he backs up, and backs up, and backs up. And he's got his hands like, he's revving. And I'm like, no, yes, no, yes, no, yes, no, yes. So I'm like, don't do it, honey, don't do it. He goes, no, it's fine, Dad. I'm like, trust, listen, I know, I got it, I'm on to it. I'm like, don't do it. He's like, I'm doing it, Dad. I'm like, you're gonna hurt yourself. He goes, I'm doing it, Dad. He goes, I'm like, just, he doesn't listen to me. I'm only his father, what do I know? So he's sitting there and he backs up and he starts scooting down that driveway. And he's right about to turn that thing that he's hoping for. And as he turns, the front wheel hits that bottom pavement that's a little cracked, and he goes flying. And he hits the pavement like that, and scrapes his knee.